Welcome to a new vlog and a video of the cruise vibes, and today we're going to take a look at the first part of my cruise with the Oscar Wilde. The ship was chartered by the travel agency Reise Jung, and here on the map you can see our route. Today we are going from Hanau, where the cruise starts, to Frankfurt and then on to Mainz, and the rest of the cruise we will see in the next video. We are starting in Hanau. The travel agency Reise Jung is based in Bruchköbel, which is close to Hanau, so this is their home port, and here we are starting our cruise on the wonderful Oscar Wilde that is usually chartered by Riviera Travel, as you can see, but in this case it was chartered by Reise Jung. This video has been done in a cooperation with Reise Jung, but of course without any payment and without them having any influence on this video. Here we can see my cabin on the lowest deck, on the Emerald deck, and they're quite spacious. On many ships the cabins on the lower decks are a bit smaller, but here on this ship you have also here a lot of space. We have a big wardrobe, a proper desk with different types of power sockets, British power sockets, European power sockets, USB power sockets, everything is available. Then on the right side of the desk we have another wardrobe with additional storage space. Here we have a coffee machine with the capsules which are included. Below is a fridge, a mini bar, and the safe. Here you can see the small window. Of course it cannot be opened as we are pretty close to the waterline, and for me personally those cabins are always good enough, but of course there are also cabins with French balconies available. Here you can see the bed can be divided. We have a seating area, and then next to the bed of course there are also power sockets. Now we can take a look into the bathroom. I'm not the biggest fan of the bathroom. It has a lot of nice features, so in general it's pretty nice, but I don't like the shape of it, because if you're sitting on a toilet you're sitting immediately at the wall, as it is a quite small room, a long and thin room. But as I said, the features are pretty nice with the rain shower and everything is there. And then it was already time to leave the port of Hanau. Here we are setting sail heading for Frankfurt. And we were traveling in early March, and still it was so nice that you could spend a lot of time on the sun deck. As you can see, blue sky, and with a jacket it was a perfect temperature to sit on the sun deck and watch quite impressive sail away out of the port of Hanau, especially with such a big ship like the Oscar Wilde with 135 meters of length. Here we can see this impressive port, one of the biggest ports on the river Main, and straight after leaving the port we were turning. If you remember my video from the Swiss Crown, where I was also traveling with Reise Jung, with the smaller ship of Swiss Crown we went a long way backwards, but the captain of the Oscar Wilde was turning immediately here at the entrance of the port. There was enough space, looks quite spectacular, but of course there was more than enough space. And right after turning we were going under the first very low bridge, and this is the advantage of the slightly lower part in the front of the sun deck, so we could stay here as long as we were seated. Crew was taking care, of course, that everybody took a seat or left the sun deck in time, and I think you can clearly see here why the rear part of the sun deck remains closed on the Main. After that we were sailing past the castle Philippsruhe, a quite beautiful and impressive castle. Then we were continuing on to Frankfurt. To get there we have to go through two locks. The first one is the lock Mülheim, and here we can see the Oscar Wilde going through that lock in a time lapse. The lock is 300 meters long, 12 meters wide, and we're now going down 4 meters. So it's quite impressive, as our ship is 11.45 meters wide, so we only have 55 centimeters of space in that lock. And here we are out of the lock again, and now we have time to enjoy the wonderful landscape here on the Main. This was the calm and relaxing part, which is of course the main advantage of a river cruise, as there's always something to see and it is very relaxing to sit on the ship and enjoy the wonderful landscape. Of course it will change in the evening, because then we were starting with the party, as this was a party cruise. Of course then we will have different atmosphere on board, but for now it was time to relax and enjoy sailing into the sunset here at the city of Offenbach, close to Frankfurt already. And it was a very, very beautiful sunset, and this is one of the most beautiful parts of river cruising, especially if you have such a nice view with the skyscrapers of Frankfurt already in the background visible and such a nice sunset. Frankfurt was the first destination of the day. We were supposed to arrive there during dinner time, and until then it was enough time to enjoy this wonderful sunset and a very impressive sight of the city of Frankfurt. For me personally, sailing into Frankfurt is one of the most beautiful arrivals into a port on a river cruise in Europe, as Frankfurt is a very spectacular city. Before reaching Frankfurt, we met another ship, the Excellence Queen, a ship that I've already showed to you a few weeks ago. Also quite beautiful ship. In this case it was still sailing without guests, as our cruise took place right at the start of the season, where a lot of ships were still on their way to their first cruise, so just as the Excellence Queen did. Now we are at the Deutschherren Bridge, which is a bridge where you have the most beautiful view of the skyline of Frankfurt. But of course on a ship you have an even better view than from the bridge, because we are now having this view for quite a while, getting closer to the Manhattan, which is the nickname of the skyline of Frankfurt, of course referring to Manhattan in New York. Frankfurt is quite unique in Germany. From the 20 highest buildings in Germany, 19 are here in Frankfurt, so that's quite impressive, and no other city in Germany has a skyline like this. And during a sunset like this is quite an impressive sight. And now I will let you enjoy the fantastic view on our way to our docking location in Frankfurt. And here we have another cruise ship, the Viva Tiara, also without guests, still waiting for the first cruise to start, and we were docking right next to her. And in the meantime the welcome cocktail took place in the lounge, and after that it was time for the first very nice and very tasty dinner. As you can see, food quality is very nice, looks very nice, and it was also very tasty. You can see the dessert, and then it was time to party. Our cruise was the Riverside weekend cruise of Reise Jung, and as you can see I left the ship for a few minutes to take a shot of our beautiful ship in front of the skyline. But as you can also see, there are already bright lights coming from the lounge as there was a party going on. Here you can see the dance floor was full, as we had a DJ on board who was playing danceable songs for all ages. So there was a pretty nice party going on until late in the evening, and also late in the evening we were leaving Frankfurt again. If you remember my video from the Swiss Crown, in that video we turned now in Frankfurt and went back to Hanau, but in this cruise we have one more night, so we are now going on to the city of Mainz. And as the weather was so nice on that day, it was even possible to stay on the sun deck late in the evening to watch the sail away from Frankfurt, which is about as spectacular as arriving in Frankfurt. Of course, also during the night a lot of those buildings are illuminated, so this is quite an impressive sight, and I spent quite some time on the sun deck to watch the sail away from Frankfurt. Of course, we have some more low bridges on our way, so again only the front part of this sun deck was open, but it was enough for all guests who were interested to see the sail away to find a space up here in the front. In this case you also don't have to sit down, as the bridges here in Frankfurt are not that low as the ones in Hanau. Here we can see some more impressions. Of course, there was not that much going on anymore in Frankfurt late in the evening, but still most buildings were illuminated nicely. And then it was time slowly to head back inside and keep the party going, whereas the DJ was playing until late in the night and we were going on to Mainz. Mainz is not that far away from Frankfurt, but we have a few more locks on our way and then we were supposed to arrive in Mainz early next morning. And as you can see now, there is not that much to see anymore, less lights, so it was slowly time to head back inside and continue partying. And on the next morning, when I woke up, we were already docked in Mainz, close to the city center, so it's time to leave the ship. As you can see, a modern system is used here on the Oscar Wilde. You can check in and out yourself, quite similar to the ocean ships. And then it was a walk of about 15 to 20 minutes to get to the city center of Mainz. And I also had a chance to finally take a closer look at the exterior of the beautiful Oscar Wilde. Here we can see her docked at the docking location A2. And from here, as I said, 15 to 20 minutes. And I would recommend just following the river upstream, walking past the Hilton Hotel and the Rheingoldhalle. And once you've passed the Rheingoldhalle, here you can see how it is written. Then you have to turn right and then there is a hidden staircase, which I will show you in a second, before we can take a look at the artwork here at the bank of the River Rhine. And here you can see this hidden stairs, so make sure to not miss it. And then you have to go up there to get to the Jockl Fuchs Square. And from there you have a direct access to the city center and you don't have to cross the busy road, which is parallel to the Rhine. You can also see the cathedral in the background, and here you can see that busy road, and you can cross this road with this bridge quite easily. And right after the bridge we have the first shopping opportunities, and this is also the part of the city where you have almost all famous shops available. And if you turn to the left you will get to the cathedral. There was also quite a nice market in front of the cathedral, not only selling fruits and vegetables, but also a few things that might be interesting for tourists, so it's also worth to visit the market. And from the market you also have a direct access to the cathedral. I would recommend visiting the cathedral not only for religious reasons, but for the architecture, as it is quite an impressive building. It has a rather simple interior, but just the sheer size of it is pretty impressive. So I would absolutely recommend just going into the cathedral. It is free, so you don't have to pay. It will take you 5 to 10 minutes. Of course, you can also spend more time there, but take at least 5 to 10 minutes to take a look at this quite impressive building. I will later on show you another church, which in my opinion is even more spectacular and also a bit more famous actually. Before that we can take a look into the courtyard, and then I was continuing my tour around Mainz. Here we have the State Theater, and then I was continuing on. Here you can see the so-called Mainzelmännchen. Those can be found on several traffic lights in the city. Here we have the so-called Fastnachtsbrunnen, the carnival fountain, unfortunately without water. With water it's much more spectacular. Here we are in the Gaustraße, which is the steepest tram line in Germany. And if you follow that tram line by walking or taking the tram, you will reach the church St. Stephan. The church also has a simple interior, it's not too spectacular, but the windows are what is worth seeing, because the church has the windows of the famous artist Marc Chagall. Is the only church in Germany with Chagall windows. And if you're lucky and the weather is nice and you're there at the right time, you can also see this beautiful illuminations from the windows, and the sunlight is quite spectacular. The whole church is looking blue from the inside because of the blue Chagall windows. Absolutely worth a visit. And from there you can walk back down into the city center, as there is also an old town in Mainz. Many people won't visit the old town because if you're coming from the ships, you will automatically get into the part of the city where you have the modern buildings and the shopping opportunities. And then you see the cathedral. But if you're going past the cathedral, behind the cathedral is the old town with wonderful half-timbered houses. Absolutely worth a visit, but a few people are missing that because they think behind the cathedral is nothing more to see and they spend their whole time in the shopping area. But this is actually the more beautiful part. Here you can see the street signs, and as you can see, they have two different colors. Blue streets are going parallel with the Rhine, and red streets are heading towards or from the Rhine. So that's making orientation quite easy in Mainz. And then we were back at our wonderful Oscar Wilde, and it was time for lunch. And everything after me boarding the ship and the ship leaving Mainz will be part of the next video, the upcoming video. So that's it for this video. I hope it was interesting, hope you enjoyed that. Here you can see the name of the song and when my next video, part 2 of this video, will be uploaded. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to comment, like or share the video link. And if you want to see the second part of this video and more cruise videos, make sure to follow, and I hope to see you in the next video then.